Westminster Veterans Oral History Project. Today's date is December 5th, 2001. The interviewee is Dr. Frank Currie with the Royal Canadian Dental Corps. Dr. Currie, what is your full name?
Franklin Kinsley Currie.
And your date and place of birth?
4th Avenue and 6th Street, Westminster, BC, 517 4th Avenue.
And when were you born?
January the 15th, 1916.
Okay. What is your marital status?
I'm married to one of my school chums, Myrtle Gibson, and we're still together, and I just love her to death.
Awesome, that's great. Do you have any children?
Yes, we have 3 children. We have Marnie, she's an RN, and she graduated from Royal Columbian Hospital. I have my son, Jed, who graduated at UBC, and he's with Air Canada. He's a pilot now, and he takes me to Hong Kong on occasion if I want to go with him. And then we have Elizabeth. That was a little relegate in our family. That's the right word, I'm not sure. But anyway, she turned out to be a gem after all because she had her mother's tuition. And that's my 3. We got 4 grandkids, and I've had 14 dogs in my life, and I got 6 buried here in my front yard.
Wow, okay. Were your parents from New Westminster?
No, my dad was from Wilton, Ontario. He was a blacksmith and a wheelwright. And my mother came from Aberdeen in Scotland, and to come and live with her uncle, who was Alec Ewan, who had the big farm down in the cannery down at Lulu Island.
Okay. So, how long were you a New Westminster resident?
Well, I was the resident till I went back to dental school in Toronto.
Okay. And then how did you make it to this house here?
Well, after the war, they were veterans. They had a Veterans Land Act, and I applied, and we had to have an acre and a sixth, and we had this old house, and it had 4 acres, and so Myrtle didn't want it because they were escaping from Ocala all the time. She said, it's too spooky up here. There were no roads behind us, but anyway, my mother, home mother, she was the smart one in the family. She said, if you can get it. I had 3 mortgages, Veterans, Canada Trust, and my mother loaned me a few bucks. So we bought the old house.
And what is your current address?
Well, they changed it from 5550 Sperling to a new street up behind us called Hazard Street, and it's 7445 Hazard Street.
Okay.
U5E 1X8.
Good. What branch of the armed forces were you enrolled in?
After in the active service, I guess that we were in cadets. I was cadets at UBC for a while, and then cadets at Toronto, and then we joined up in our last year of dental school. They took us in the permanent force as cadets, and we got paid $1.30 a day, and $1.25 a day, and $1.30 living out allowance as part of it. But we were on trade all the time.
I bet. Yeah. So, when you went into active service, what was your rank, and when you left active service, what was your rank?
Well, when I left, when I joined up, they gave us 2 pips, which is a lieutenant, and when I got out, I was a captain, and I didn't know whether it was a temporary major.
Okay.
But I was, when I retired, I was a captain.
Okay. And so you were in the dental corps, is that right?
In the dental corps.
Right. Okay. So when did you enroll in the armed forces?
In the permanent force? I mean,
Sure, yeah.
Well, I would say it would be 1943.
1943?
Yeah.
But you were in the cadets before that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And was that in Toronto that you enrolled?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. How did your family feel about that?
My family didn't have anything to do with it. They were away back home.
When you told them, what did they say?
Oh, no, they never even. Oh, they were happy.
Were they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you must. How old were you at that time?
Let me see. Well, how old would I be in that?
Let me take a look.
43. I'd be. I guess I was 20 something.
27 something.
No, I was younger than that. I think. 43? What would I be?
So you were 27 when you enrolled then. When you enrolled, did you enroll with friends or on your own?
Well, it was the dental corps, and you had to go if you're physically fit. We had all this cadet stuff ever since we were kind of joined up then, you know.
Right.
They wanted to get, they wanted to get all the dentists they could get. They were really short of dentists to look at, because after the Depression, the kids that were joining up were just, teeth were in horrible shape.
Really, right? Yeah.
And so that's all we did was look after kids. Our last year, no, I wasn't. I guess it was, 43. Anyway, we went to, the class ahead of us had graduated, and one of them went to Georgia Lake, or what was it? Big lake up in Ontario.
Oh, okay. Like Simcoe or something?
No, Georgian Bay.
Oh, okay.
They had a prisoner of war camp there,
Mm-hmm.
and all the fellows that had graduated, they all got an officer at least posted. Anyway, so we had 2 weeks off in this between school years, between fourth year and fifth year, and I went to. I got posted to Georgian Bay with this Bill Hambley, who was in the same fraternity I was. And anyway, I was his assistant, and he was giving me the business all the time, and I'd give him the business too because we were friends. And I was just a cadet. But anyway, to make the long story short, he gave this one German prisoner of war patient a shot of cocaine, and the guy just went into an anaphylactic shock and just collapsed right on the floor. And there was a German dentist that had come from Germany that was captured, came over to the prisoner of war camp, and he was working in the dental lab to do something. And Bill Hambley called me, and I went in and got the guy out. This old German dentist, he looked at the guy for a minute, and there was no heartbeat. And he took his fist and just pounded him on the chest. And he listened again. He pounded him again. He yelped, tick him, tick.
Are you serious?
Wow. Yeah,
great.
that's the first time I've ever seen anyone go into anesthesia. But it was a young kid, but he just had he was allergic to this anesthetic we had.
Right.
And a lot of guys had trouble with it too,
Right.
but they changed that.
Oh. So when were you discharged from duty?
That's a funny thing you say that, but there's a mistake.
Okay.
Here's a mistake. If you are an officer, you're never discharged. You are retired.
I see. Right. So when were you retired then?
I guess about 1946 or 47.
Right. Around
Somewhere, I forgot now.
And was that in Toronto as well?
No, that was out here. Got posted out here.
Okay, and we'll get to that. So when you heard that Canada declared war on Germany, what sort of thing, how did you feel?
I knew all about being in an army, but my mom and my dad said I was partway through dental school, and I had I could go to 3 dental colleges, and my mom and dad just said, I think you should continue with your education, and then you can join up with anything you want. So that's the way I kept going, and that was real smart.
In the end, yeah.
Advice.
Right. Oh, you're a young man then. Did you want to just jump in?
Oh, yeah. And I was a machine gunner, you know.
Right. You were a machine gunner with the cadets, is that right?
Well, the non-permanent active militia in the Westminster Regiment.
When did you join that?
When I was just I was a bugle boy at first, and then when I got to be 18, I joined the non-permanent active militia, they called it.
Okay.
And anyway, I started out. Then I went to B Company, and my old friend Basil Morgan and I and Cookie and all these guys were there, and we had great times. And Waterhog was the sergeant.
Right. Okay. So, for active service, where did you get your training?
In dentistry?
Yeah.
Well, in dentistry, you got my real dentist at University of Toronto Dental School.
Okay. And what about basic training, things like that?
Well, I knew more about basic training than all the other guys, all the other students, anyway, because I'd been in the Westminster Regiment.
Right.
But we had every weekend we had to go on parades, and they just really kind of kept us down, you know. They looked after us. They wanted us to get out and know something about it. And then we went to, I forget that name, the place after we got out, and I got posted to Sussex, New Brunswick, and I didn't like that. But my brother was a dentist, and he had practiced with Brigadier Lott that ran the whole dental corps, and I hated Sussex, New Brunswick, because my love was out here, Myrtle Gibson, and I wanted to get out here. So I wrote my brother a letter to say, my mom and dad, our mom and dad are getting old, and I'd like to be posted to 37 Company Western Air Command. And we had 17 dentists there looking after getting these guys ready from the South Saskatchewan Regiment. And anyway, the guy said, yeah, Currie, you'll never have a chance to get out there. But it's not what you know, it's who you know. And in about 3 weeks in come F.K. Currie, LOM, posted 37 Company Western Air Command.
Right on. So then your time in active service during the war was in New Brunswick and in Vancouver, is that right?
Vancouver and the Northwest Staging Route, and I went to the Aleutians and Prince Rupert and Tofino and Prince George, and we looked after the glass house up at Fort Nelson.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We were all over then.
Yeah, we just
and so
they just you know, you'd go to mostly Air Force.
Okay.
But the dental corps, we were an army, but we the only unit, the most efficient ordnance unit of all places. We just had one ordnance place to put things out to, not here. The Navy did here, and then the Air Force did here, and that the medical. But the dental corps was so organized. They needed a dentist in the Navy. Well, they just took you from where you were there and moved you to the Navy.
Right.
But we all wore khaki, which was a great thing, because if you were in the Air Force, the wing commanders, they didn't know what the hell was going on with the dental corps. So it was a great way to be. You weren't under no subjugation.
Right. So you're Army, so you wore khaki. Describe your uniform to me.
Well, it's just we had a battle dress.
Okay.
And we just were battle. We had dress uniform too, but you had to pay for that yourself.
Okay.
But if you went on certain parades, you know, I got married in my dress uniform.
Oh, okay.
It was just khaki too, though.
Okay. And then did it have DC somewhere on it, or on the shoulders?
No. You just had a couple of tips and the Royal Canadian Dental Corps.
Oh.
Do you want me to get it and show you?
Oh, after for sure, that'd be great. Okay.
just a shoulder pat, you know.
Right.
Well, yeah, just Canadian Dental Corps, but then it became Royal Canadian. I stayed in after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So describe to me a regular day of your time in active service. What would you do?
Well, we had just ran like a dental office that we chart the patients, and then if they needed work, we'd give them an appointment, and then they would keep the appointment, and then all day long, these patients that had appointments would come in, and we would operate on them. It was really good, you know. If places you couldn't, where there was no power, we had a foot machine with a belt on it would run the dental and the drills. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So many of the kids, basically boys that came in, had they ever seen dentists before?
Well, some of them had and some of them hadn't.
Yeah.
I had one in Sussex, New Brunswick. I had this one kid come in, and it was the South Saskatchewan Regiment. Anyway, he came in, and I tried at him, and he was in such horrible shape. He was rejected, you know, to go overseas because they were getting ready to go overseas. Anyway, so I came back to the clinic the next day, and he was a big, strapping, good-looking boy too, you know, but his teeth were just horrible shape. Anyway, he was crying. He says, "I got two brothers in the outfit, and they're going, and I can't go with them." And so I brought him in, and I took out all the. And I said, "Listen, you gotta be tough." I said, "You must eat a lot of candy and stuff." And he says, "No," he says, "I don't eat candy at all." But I noticed in his battle dress he had a little thing there. I said, "What's that in there?" And he's old only chocolates, and that's the worst kind of candy you can have. Anyway, so I worked on him. I worked on him that morning, and I got him in the afternoon, and I worked on him again and took out all the teeth that were hopelessly lost. And then I had him in after that. And we had rubber down what we could get away from the bleeding part where the teeth had been extracted, and so it made it easy to work on the teeth that could be restored. So I restored them up, and it took about 10 days and patience, and I finally got them in good shape, and I paraded them in front of our colonel, and the colonel said, "Currie, you did a great job. I'm going to okay this thing." So he went out.
You ever hear from him again?
Well, we went that after he got it okay, went to the sergeant's mess, and we had a few drinks and a few laughs there, and I saw them when they were marching off to go overseas, but I didn't ever see him or hear of him again. I can't even think of his name now.
Right. What about mail service? What was that like in mail service? From back home, or?
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty good. My future wife, Myrtle, my girlfriend, she used to write me all the time, and she would put in stamps so I could write her back.
Oh, yeah.
Just in Canada, you know.
Just to make sure you did it. And then what about living conditions?
I had no objects at all. I guess being an officer made it easier than the other ranks, but I mucked in the mines, and I lived by myself up in Braylon in an old log cabin, and it was a piece of cake, really.
Mm-hmm. You enjoyed it?
Yeah.
And then as a dentist, did you guys have barracks?
Oh, yeah, we had great quarters. Yeah.
And what about eating arrangements?
Well, you go to the mess.
Yeah. Okay. Now, this might sound like a redundant question, but I have to ask it. What were the hospitals like?
Well, the hospitals, we had our own clinics in the Air Force dental. We had 3 dentists in some places, and some 2, and then 1. Mm-hmm. And but we were well looked after, you know, and we had good assistants, you know, and gosh, I just
equipment was good.
Well, it's pretty archaic compared to stuff today, but,
yeah.
but that's the way we were trained, and so it was just natural for us, and no complaints, really.
Oh, that's good.
One time this was at Abbotsford. I got posted out here to Abbotsford, and one night the doctor. It was on a Friday night, and the medical officer and I were. And another fellow were playing mock rummy in the mess, and it was about 9:30, and we got this call to go down on this. It was Liberator bombers, and they just come in on a practice tour. It was an operational training unit, and the co-pilot they pulled up to park the airplane, and the props were still just idling, and these 2, it was an RAF school, or at least area. They were, every 2 weeks they changed, you know, right. RCAF, and then RAF, and then RCAF, and that took about 2 months. Anyway, these 2 young kids from Britain, and they ran out, and props were still moving, and one of them just got his head cut right off, and the other had a prop go right through his head. And so we went down there, and they were still shaking, but they were dead and doornails. That I couldn't go to sleep from just couldn't do anything.
Yeah, what an experience.
Terrible. And then we had crashes up on Mission Mountain, and the aircraft would. They had more accidents, I think, from Abbotsford, and over same operational training unit from Boundary Bay and Abbotsford were the same. They crashed over in the island, and oh gosh.
Was it? Do you think because they were so young?
Well,
people are inexperienced.
They were in training, and then I guess the communications on the radios weren't as great as they were, you know.
Right.
Some of that. There was one. Fella, Jesus, I can't think of his name. He became a senior officer in Air Canada, Trans-Canada Airlines, I guess, in those days. And Donnie McLeod was his name, and I saw him. He was a squadron leader, and he couldn't. One of his motors, one of his landing gear. Wouldn't come up.
Oh,
no, wouldn't go down. One of them couldn't go down. So anyway, he flew around for about, I don't know, hours and dumped fuel and everything. They were going to go up to Ketchikan or somewhere in an operational training group. But anyway, he had to pull up both wheels. One wouldn't come down. So he had pulled the other one up, and he came in, and the whole station knew that he was going to come in on a belly landing. They had about 11 guys in these 2 air gunners, gunner, and a middle-aged gunner, and a pilot, and a navigator, and all that. Anyway, we were all out there to watch Donnie McLeod, and I knew him, you know, from U.S. Minister. He lived at Fraser Mills. Anyway, he has a nice daughter, too, a nice sister. See, I like her. Anyway, he came in, and he belly landed, but it was just beautiful. No fire, just nothing but sparks in the broad daylight. You know,
yeah.
Kind of anyway, that was Donnie McLeod, and he became trained in the Royal Canadian Dental Corps and Royal Canadian Air Force, I mean, and he went on to become the chief pilot of Air Canada.
Oh, okay, that's great. That's great. What was
Are you talking too much?
No, this is good. This is good. And just what was social life like in the service?
Well, it was pretty good. They were always girls around, and they had dances and things like that, but the facilities weren't good for any kind of a sex arrangement.
I guess not, no. Did you have dances? Did you go to movies, things like that? Or?
No, I can't recall any movies.
No.
No.
What about leave? Did you ever go on leave while you were in the service?
Oh, sure. Yeah. We had, you were supposed to get a month's leave every year, but yeah, they were so damn busy that we'd maybe give us a couple of weeks,
Mm-hmm. And what would you do with that?
Oh, I'd come home.
Oh, you would?
Yeah.
And what about short leaves? Did you ever explore the countryside? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we had, like most of the places I was in, we had two dentists, and every other weekend, one could go off for Friday, Friday, Saturday, come back Sunday.
Mm. And what sort of things would you do?
When we were in the station, all we did was play knock rummy.
Right.
But then I'd go home. Well, we'd go out. If you're in a place that you'd go to town. That was kind of fun. But we were in these remote places. There was really nowhere to go anyway, so you just stayed around the camp, and then you could go out to go home.
Right.
They'd fly us anywhere. Oh, that was nice.
They would, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. What about your commanding officers?
Well, we had, just like everything else, some of them, we had one that was a kind of a turkey, and it was out here at Sea Island, and after I'd come from North Country, I went to Sea Island, and one of my old fraternity brothers had taken this course in all surgery, and he was a left-hander, and so this colonel, his name was Colonel Snell, and anyway, he was 60 and he had to get out, but he had an impacted wisdom tooth, so he wanted to get it done by Bill Irons. He was the one, Dr. Irons here, Major Irons, I forget what branch he had, but anyway, he said, give me a hand on this, Currie, and so anyway, I went on. He was left-handed, and that was an impacted wisdom tooth, and the tooth is like this, and this one's impacted. It had a cyst around it, and it was a pretty big cyst. Anyway, if you can split the tooth, the back end out, the rest of the thing comes out, you don't have to cut any bone or anything. It makes it nice. And he was hammering on it, and he said, try it on your side. So I split it about 3 times, didn't split. So I gave it a really pretty good whack, and I split it. And it got it out all right, but I broke the colonel's jaw. And we had to wire him up, and I don't think he liked me very much after that.
That's a good story. So generally, was the relationships good with the commanding officers?
Oh, yeah. Because they were all kind of retired old guys. One thing I really was happy about graduating, because, when you get out of medical school or you go out of dental school, you just know the bare fundamentals. There's no way you can't, but we were lucky getting out with these other older dentists that had practiced dentistry and had joined up, and so if you get in trouble, they'd be right there, and tell you what to do at different stations and different guys, and you learn more things about dentistry in the service.
Really, eh?
If you just graduate out of school and start a practice, bugger all, really. Excuse me.
That's okay. So it was almost like an apprenticeship then.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Like training.
Right. Is there one memory or a few memories that stand out during your time in active service? Or do you have some memories that really impacted you?
Well, just that those kids getting their head cut off and picking up burned guys out of an old, on the side of Mission Mountain. Some that I had roomed with, you know, and they were just all burned up and
from the
crash, you know.
Oh, I see.
Train crashed and burned.
Right.
That's the most graphic things in that.
Oh. Okay. What about good memories? Do you have any really good memories of your times?
When I came back, and I was still in active service, and I got married to Myrtle, and we went on our honeymoon to Seattle. But anyway, someone told us we should stop at Bellingham at some place, and so we went and booked into the hotel, and we went up to the room they'd given us, and my old friend Charlie Patchell, my cousin David Livingston, we were sitting we had a nice suite, and they were just sitting in there waiting for us, and they were pretty well goofed up a bit, you know. So anyway, that was my first wedding night, and that's a great experience with my two friends.
No kidding, eh? No kidding. What sort of feelings did you have on VE Day?
Oh, I was happy. Yeah, happy that we were getting out. And that was it. I thought we were going to get out, but gee, it took a long time before you got out in the downpour.
Oh yeah, you had to deal with all these people coming back. Is that how it worked?
Yeah, that's right.
And so tell me about that. I mean, the war's over, but you're still in it.
Yeah, but we're still fighting the Japs.
Yeah.
So we said I went up to the Aleutian Islands. But that's when I like this Truman guy. I was up there when they dropped that bomb on Hiroshima, and we knew it was going to be over for sure after that.
Right. When was it really over for you in the dental corps?
Well, I stayed. I was retired from the active service, and then I kind of liked the militia and that, so I just joined the Royal Canadian Dental Corps militia, and we used to go parade over in Vancouver, and I'd go to this different seasons. We'd go to Army camps together, and I just went back to Camp Borden about 4 or 5 times, and I qualified. There were 4 of us, 4 majors, and we were going to Camp Borden. You had to take 2 weeks off every summer, and anyway, being that whole militia thing all my life, I took dentist needs on tactics. I don't know, but you had to pass tactics, and I knew a little bit from learning from the Westminster Regiment and going to these Army camps all summers when we were kids, you know, and I passed, and so I qualified as Lieutenant Colonel.
Oh, okay.
So then I stayed in the militia till I finally retired.
Right. And so VJ Day celebrations, did you attend any?
Well, just around the camps, you know, I guess. I can't recall too much about that. We were the busiest outfit in the whole place, you know. The mechanics, I guess they fixed up the airplanes and that, but geez, we were just seemed to be working. We'd go at 8 o'clock in the morning, lunch, 12, 1 o'clock back, and quit at 5, and then you're on duty all night. If anyone got any problems, you'd have to come back to the clinic.
Right. Must have been a good deal for the people who joined up, eh?
Oh, the troops, yeah. Oh, yeah, they had immediate service.
Yeah. What was it like when you found out you were retired?
Well, it was fine because I went to Mr. Lee, Dr. Lee in Vancouver, he was kind of an old man, but he's the one. I went in to see his office. He was the registrar for the College of Dental Surgeons of British Columbia, and that's how I got to know this so well. I said, Dr. Lee, I'm going to get out pretty soon, and I'm going to be discharged. And that's when he says, you're not going to be discharged. I thought, geez, this guy knows more than I do. Anyway, I said, well, when I get out, when I get there, he says, you are not going to be discharged. He said, officers are retired. Anyway, I took when I was in there, I took the course to get into BC. We didn't have a dental school here, so they had to have if you come in here, you wanted to register to be a dentist in Westminster or to British Columbia, you had to pass this thing in the Royal Canadian Dental Corps or the British Columbia College of Dental Surgeons. Anyway, so John Sproul's dad was an old dentist, and he said, you know, if you were born in British Columbia, then it cost $500 to take the course to thing. But if you were born in British Columbia and had been in active service, you could write the board for nothing, and they'd pay it. And here we had all our dental equipment that not from anywhere. Just there were four of us, and we all got past the board. You had to count foils and take impressions of teeth and make dentures and all this stuff. Anyway, but we all passed the board easily, and I thought that was great. Anyway, so instead of $500, which was a lot of money in those days, we got it for nothing. So that was another thing because we were in the service.
Oh, I see. And so then did you start your own practice right after that?
Well, when I got out, I finally got an office. I went with another dentist I knew in Westminster, and I worked with him for about 6 months or a year. And it was kind of crowded, and I had lots of patients, and I had to go down at nights and Sundays and all this stuff. And I finally got my own office, 32 6th Street. I was born on 4th Avenue and 6th Street. My first office was 32 6th Street, and when they tore our house down where I was born, they built up a medical dental building, so I got the choicest office there.
Oh, okay. And so that's where you worked?
That's where I worked till I retired.
Oh, okay. That's great. So when you were retired from being an officer, what did you find that people's attitudes towards the military had changed because of the war, towards yourself even?
Gee, I never thought of that. They just accept most of the patients. I'd known them. I'd been to school with them in Westminster, and I had lots of friends. You know, I used to work 7 days a week. You know, they'd come on Sundays, and they were always having troubles. But it's better now in that respect. I don't think they bothered to, you know, whether you were in the military or not.
Okay. And then you mentioned that, you know, because you're in the Army, you didn't, you know, and you're from BC, you didn't have to spend the $500. Any other things provided to you by Veterans Affairs or by the military?
Something was fair. When I was up north, I gave a dental officer a 38 pistol caliber pistol, and I used to put it in the drawer in my cabinet, and we'd go nice and fire lots of shots because the ammunition was free, you know. Anyways, and then when I got out, I said I'd like this gun, and so I paid $5 for it, and I bought all the dental instruments that I wanted, and I paid $1.50 for a good forceps, and all we had all these things, and just that, but they were just going to kind of junk them anyway.
Oh, right. So you got some good deals then.
Yeah. Trying to start up yourself, you know.
Right. And so they really encouraged that then?
Oh yeah, they do anything to. I made a mistake. I should have bought the whole bloody kit.
Right. So do you think that veterans have been treated well over the years?
Well, I don't think they were at first, but they're kind of making it nicer for us now. Anyway, I buggered up my. I screwed up my back in the service. And see, it was in a clinic. We used to have a guy to answer the phone and keep the floors polished and make all the appointments,
Right.
And he was always polishing the floors. And I went around it. Had this impression. This was at Comox, and these guys were going to Burma. And I had this impression. I was looking at him. He had to have it done. I was going to put in a bridge or a crown for him or something. The guy left the rag, the polishing cloth on the floor, and I went right down and sideways and ruptured a disc in my back. And anyway, at that time, they didn't do anything about them. They didn't know much about them in those days, about ruptured discs and that. Anyway, so finally I thought I'd go to work in my office and I'd just twist a certain way and my back would go and I'd have to cancel patients and I'd be fine for a while and then I would do it again and it's a real drag. Anyway, so I just couldn't even move. It was so painful. Anyway, so I had Dr. Peter Lehman in Vancouver. My sister she ran the admitting office at the Vancouver General, and she says, "I'll get you Dr. Lehman to look at you." He did a laminectomy on me, and I was good after that for a long time. It's kind of buggered me up now.
Right.
We used to go on these operational training units in the airplane, and I was a former machine gunner, and we'd go up to Ketchikan and out to sea. They call it familiarization. They wanted your guys in the other services to kind of know about it. So anyway, we guys go flying with them. And anyway, I got my hearing went haywire, and I tried to get hearing aids. But anyway, they were a little hesitant about giving me that. But anyway, they had my records back in Prince Edward Island or somewhere. Was it Cape Breton Island?
Oh, maybe. I don't
know. Anyway, they came back, and on account of that, I had already bought 4 hearing aids, but those airplanes, I was always in them,
Right.
Anyway, so they finally got me another. So I've had 6 sets of hearing aids.
And they helped you.
They brought these last 2 for me.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Do you belong to any veterans organizations?
Well, I go to all my friends are Canadian Legion guys, and so we go down. I just go down there on Armistice Day, and I'm the designated driver.
Okay.
It's called the Blackstone Veterans Research Institute.
Oh, yeah.
We just meet every Monday at 10 o'clock. And they come here too, the whole wives and girlfriends. Well, some of them have lost their wives, and so we bring girlfriends.
Right.
So we have it's coming up on the 17th. They're all coming here.
Oh, good. Good. And so you still maintain contacts and friendships then?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of them were my old patients, So, yeah.
And people from the wartime as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They were from Westminster. You know how you get it's kind of you know everybody.
Small community.
Yeah, well, that's small then, so you don't know anybody now.
Mm.
Well, you just know your friends.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How do you observe Remembrance Day?
Well, we go to the armories, I used to, when I was in the militia in the Royal Canadian Medical, we used to have to go to Vancouver and get our outfit, to parade, you know,
Right.
we're all in uniform. But after I retired from that, I just go to the armories in U.S. Ministry, because that's better for me.
It's closer anyway.
Yeah.
And you chat with the old guys and stuff. And, what does it mean to you to be a veteran?
I feel proud that I you know, being in the Dental Corps, you're not really a soldier that's fought battle, but you just had a battle every day with decay.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did that, and I had a lot of old patients that I knew that before, you know, they all come.
Right. Oh, that's good. Well, I think that's it for the interview.
Oh, well, that's great.
Unless there's something you feel I've missed.
I think there's when we got to, when I was in the militia and at the Westminster Red Machine Gun, we had a fellow, the Drum Major Roddick, and he was the one that kind of taught me all about blowing the bugle. But anyway, one day he says, Currie, he says, why do you always put on your left shoe last? And I said, geez, Mr. Roddick, I said, I don't know. I don't think I do. And he said, well, it's the only one that's left, isn't it?
Good one.
And he thought that was a great joke. He had an old Model A Ford like I have out in my shed here. And it's, anyway, he would always say it's got a damn good motor in it. He used to leave it right in the armies there. That was great parading in there. So we got us coffee after we paraded, and coffee and crackers and cheese. You want some? Can I get this? I might as put some. No, I don't think I'd be right here today if I hadn't had that service in the Army, in the militia, plus the active service, and plus the militia again. Just great comparative friendship, and those that I just keep this wood fire going all the time, and I think I'd rather be doing that than be in George Derby Hospital.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
You got to keep active.
Good. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Currie.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's nice of you to come here, too.